conditions like anxiety, depression, or even stress, you are going to be complete target practice for people like Nigel Farage in Reform UK and other ministers that share, like him, the point of view that these aren't conditions that should stop you from going to work. So they're going to be making sure you go on all sorts of work programs whilst they take away your PIP. In this video, I'm going to be breaking this down and I'm going to be explaining to you some of the things that you can do to protect yourself if you feel that you don't want to be a target practice. Now, in his own words, Nigel Farage has actually stated that people who are at the bottom of the earning bracket, so some of Britain's lowest paid workers, have worked out, according to him, that apparently financially they're going to be better off if they claim they've got anxiety. And this, along with Rachel Reeves obviously removing the 2-child benefit cap, for Nigel Farage means that people with mental health conditions or conditions that are not so easy to spot are going to be his new target practice. Now, whilst we know the Tim's review is still pending over the 4-point rule for PIP, we also know that alongside that, the Department of Work and Pensions, on Rishi Sunak's exit, created something which they call the WorkWell partnership plan. Don't come for me. Don't come for me. And this is actually being delivered by WorkWell coaches. I think they're basically normal work coaches that have just been renamed. So let's have a little look at what they are intending to do. Now, it says here, the new funding also builds on WorkWell, a joint programme by DWP and DHSC, which went live in October last year. So this is 2024. And it was backed by £64 million of funding. And it's meant to transform how people with health conditions are supported back into work through better integration between health services and employment support. Now, I am going to say it. The Department of Work and Pensions are the worst department to follow their own policies, as we all know from my own personal case, when it comes to getting people back into work. And I think for a lot of people, it's because when people have genuine health conditions that have been diagnosed by medical healthcare professionals, it doesn't tend to sit too well with disabled people or people who've got chronic illnesses or people who are just generally unwell for a long time, that a work coach or some little civil servant down at the job centre thinks that they know better than a healthcare professional like a doctor who has probably spent 8 years of his life qualifying to be, certified to diagnose health conditions. So I think for the majority of people, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but being disbelieved by organisations like the DWP and even in PIP employment tribunals is not something that the British are very happy about. And we all know that many victims of the Department of Work and Pensions in particular have gone so far as to have ended their life because they are sick and tired, well, they've got to the point of no return, at not being believed that their health condition is as bad as it is. Now, I'm going to reflect here on a direct quote from the judge that sat on my own case when I sued the Department of Work and Pensions. And although I won unlawful harassment and I won failure for the Department of Work and Pensions to make reasonable adjustments for me as a disabled person in the workplace, I was still referred to, or my conditions, which are medically certified, by the judge like this. She found that my PTSD, my anxiety and my stress was some kind of an exaggeration and that I was just very sensitive. And that she also thought that I drew particular attention to my own disability. Sorry, let me correct myself there. That Miss Hooper, so this was a DWP employee, was found to have harassed me by her remark about me looking like Stephen Hawkins in my disability office chair, drew particular attention to my disability. So just look at those two quotes side by side. We have a judge in an employment tribunal for a disabled person, who was myself, who was at work, where I'm being called very sensitive because of my disability. But at the same time, somebody is being, found to have harassed me unlawfully for comments and treatment and all the rest of it. This is what disabled people are fed up with. This, Nigel Farage, if you are listening, is what you should be sorting out. I think you need to go and sort out the civil service. I think you need to go and sort out employment judges that don't seem to understand too well what disabilities are and how they impact people. And maybe we need to have a ruling that judges shouldn't be questioning what doctors have already certified to be the case. Because in my experience as someone with disabilities, and one of them is mental health, as well as somebody that's worked in the job centre, so I've been on both sides of the desk, so to speak, you cannot force somebody into work with all the goodwill in the world, Nigel Farage, DWP, and even employment judges, if they are simply not fit for work because of their health. Let me know, guys, what you think about this in the comments. So getting back here to this WorkWell plan, as we can see, it has been rolled out into various different, I think there were 15 actual districts in the UK where it was rolled out, and there was considerable funding, as we can see, that has gone into it. But I think I'm going to just point this out. This is right at the top of their document, which is called Connect to Work. It was written on the 4th of September this year, where it says hundreds of sick and disabled people will now get the personalised support they need to find good, secure jobs. Why, as a country, are we not giving people who are sick and disabled access to healthcare? Not work, healthcare. I think that would be a better use of taxpayers' money, because if you force someone who's not well mentally as well back into work, all you're going to do is make them iller. It's not rocket science, is it? Let me know, guys, what do you think about this? So what can you do if this is you and you've got the good old DWP trying to force you back into work and you don't feel ready for it? And by the way, over at our website, thejusticejournals.com, you can get access to lots of trainings, you can get access to our coaching, you can even get access to all sorts of help with PIP, applications, reassessments, access to work, and even template letters. And of course, you can access our own software, Justice Writer Pro, which will write an amazing letter for you, like it was me. So you might want to have a little look at that. So number one, you need to be keeping a track of your evidence. Now, evidence can also be non-diagnosed evidence as well. What you need to be proving here is adversity. So that's how your condition, your health condition, impacts you or affects you adversely, so in the worst possible way. And to do that, you need to be doing that and thinking about that on the worst days. And again, inside the Justice Journals, we have so many different examples, particularly with different conditions, to help you get an understanding of what that could be. Next one is do not be forced into making unsafe decisions. And by that, I mean, if your doctor has given you a fit note and said that you're not fit for work, or you're in a mental health white space, which is a break from everything because you are having a mental health crisis, you should listen to your doctors. So if you've got people at DWP or even an employment judge saying to you, you know, go and take a pill and lie down and come back in an hour, which, by the way, is an exact quote from my own court case, even though my doctor had written a letter stating that I was not fit for court attendance. Don't be forced. There's a way of doing this. Obviously, don't shout and scream at people. It's not going to work. But you just have to refer to them in this way and use these words. I'm ever so sorry, but I have certified medical documentation that states to do XYZ in the way that you are asking me to do it would be unsafe for me to do. Nobody should be asking you to do something that is not good for you, that is not good for your health, and is against medical healthcare professionals' advice. Keep communication, or as much of it as possible, in writing. Now, as you guys know, I always advertise a little recording device, which is only 20 quid on Amazon. Here we go. Here it's very solid, you know, the screen is not going to go off and stop recording if you touch the screen. The buttons are really solid as well on the side. This is a type of thing that you need to be using. Do not ever record in a job centre, it's not actually allowed. But if you're on the phone, record your phone conversation. And then you can use things like Google Docs. If you put it on audio dictation, it will type all of that up for you. And you can then use that as an actual document, and I would suggest you do it, to file what has happened, when it happened, and, you know, the things that were stated. And last but not least, know your legal rights. You have legal rights, particularly if you are disabled or you're unwell or you've got a chronic condition, and those rights are protected under the Equality Act of 2010. Make sure you get the right advice regarding the Equality Act of 2010 from a qualified lawyer or even an organisation who is happy to give you out some of that advice. One of the things you can ask for, particularly when dealing with the job centre or DWP, is reasonable adjustments. Now, quite often where DWP go wrong is that they think that reasonable adjustments is a choice. It is not. It is something that is mandated, that they have to do by law because of the Equality Act of 2010. So make sure you know the Equality Act a little bit. It will help you out. Because at the end of the day, it is my firm opinion that nobody that has a health condition or a disability or is suffering, especially with mental health, should be forced to do something that they know they're just not well enough to do. Thank you so much, guys, for following me along here and helping us grow our community. Let me know in the comments what you think about these points that are going to be something of a real issue in 2026. And let me know your concerns as well, and I will do my best to try and create more videos to try and help you out. Take care and goodbye.